Those of you who are joining us for the first time for this episode, welcome. Glad to have you. However, this is the second part of a two-part episode where we are discussing Black Mirror in its almost entirety. And this is where we talk about 5 out of the 6 episodes of Season 3. We are going to be talking about them in a fair amount of detail, and there are at least 2 episodes where we do spoil the ending. So if you have not seen any of them at this point, I would recommend stopping right now and coming back to this when you've seen it. Also, I would recommend listening to the episode before this one, because that is where we start this conversation. So, hopefully you're all caught up and are now ready to continue listening to our review of Black Mirror.
The Blokebusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fantastic podcasts, such as Pencil and Ink Review, Another Damn Trivia Show, and The Language of Bromance at podbros.com, as well as on most other fine podcasting services. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to share and enjoy the Blokebusters podcast. Nosedive.
So yes, moving into Series 3, the first episode in chronologically,
yes,
is called Nosedive.
The only proper way to watch.
Yes, and it features
whatever, Brian.
Features Bryce Dallas Howard among other people in it. So there you go, and this is
not in heels.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier that people were worried about the Americanization and all that, and I personally thought this was kind of perfectly set.
This was one of the most Black Mirror-y episodes of Black Mirror.
I think. The episode 50 million credit or merits, where this entire world is set up around merits. This world is set up around how popular you are.
I got it real quick because I used Uber twice last night and had very strong flashbacks of this episode as I got out, and we're both rating each other as we walk. Like, I see him rating me, I'm rating him, and I'm like, fuck, we're in Nosedive.
Okay.
And I'm like, I gotta give him 5 stars.
Yep.
Okay, true story. I've never used Uber.
Neither have I.
And now I'm really scared too. Nosedive, I'm really scared.
The worst thing you can do is look up your rating, and you're like, 4.5? Who the fuck? Why am I at 4.5? Who's that asshole that didn't 5-star me? I am pleasant.
The main character, Bryce Dallas Howard, is at, I believe it's a 4.2-ish, is her rating. Everyone who's below 2.5 is considered lower middle to definite
poverty,
lower class.
Poor.
And even so much so that there's someone where she works that the second he hits 2.4 blah blah blah, he no longer works there.
Yes. He can't get into his building where he works.
And then on the other hand, the higher it goes, it unlocks perks in your social stratosphere.
Which
so it's like Pokemon Go for like social status.
Kind of, yes. There's actually something kind of funny that happened later in the episode around that, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, all of these things, like, everyone has this remote in their hand, and I don't know, like, it's as if the remote isn't actually there. I think it's like you see everything through the eyes, and every time you walk past someone, you see their name.
They have contacts that seem like they're installed by the government or something.
Yeah, and so like they have this thing where
it might just be a
holding
gesture
their hand
or
up.
something. Yeah.
So it's like do like, and so every time you have any interaction with anyone on any level, they can rate you, and you can rate them, and so you go to the store and you buy a drink, and you have to be as pleasant as humanly possible to make sure you get 5 stars from this person. And then
but at the same time, like, stars from those people don't really matter.
Yeah. As much as I would want this for some people, dealing as I deal with in a medical office and stuff, I would force them to be pleasant. Obviously, the point is very clear. That the episode is making.
Service people don't really matter if they it doesn't matter if they like you.
Exactly. Oh my god. The whitest of white people in this episode.
Yeah.
Paul. Fuck you, Paul.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, the crux of this episode is she's trying to get in somewhere that requires a 4.5 rating. She's not there
Yeah,
yet.
to live.
Yeah, 4.5 rating gives you a discount, which will let her live there. But, I think it was one of the places that if she were to dip below a 4, she wouldn't even have a chance getting in. And it turns out her childhood friend, who is like a 4.7, is marrying someone else who's about a 4.7, and there's going to be loads of 4.7 to 4.8s at the wedding. And if she wants her to come and give a speech, and of course if she gives that speech, she's going to get 5 stars from all of these people, which will push her way over that. So that is
the catalyst.
That is the thing that makes her go, you know what? Yes, I will do this.
You know what? The more I like the concept of this episode is so it resonated with me to the point this is actually what sparked my interest enough to try this and watch it and go through the whole series. But in terms of the tropes they use were actually really typical. And the more I watch this episode, the more I think it's kind of mediocre.
I'm kind of along the same lines. Well, no, a little bit. I really liked it initially because it was the first one I watched in season 3 because it is the first episode. And I thought it was, this is awesome. I think we talked about it briefly afterwards. But then as I watched more of season 3, I did kind of fall into the more mediocre pile. As much as I loved some of the performances and the ending, I particularly enjoyed. But
the way the technology drives them for worse for the most part, that's fascinating. But if you take away the technology, the plot is so typical.
Yeah,
true,
very much so. But and obviously, the way that this series does a lot of these things is it will use a lot of tropes and typical things while showing that you shouldn't be this way because and
there's always shown that there is a resistance. There are people who don't give a fuck about this system. Her brother, the truck driver, Cherry Jones.
Brother, what's his name from Grantchester? He plays
James
the priest in Grantchester.
The actor's James Norton.
But,
I haven't seen that show, so
good show, actually.
Yeah, and obviously the basic story here, she is trying to get to this wedding, and there are so many things that just start going wrong for her.
You're easily affected by cringeworthy things. This may not be the episode for you because it gets uncomfortable.
Yeah, but the airline moment was great.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think that.
Well, and the attendant or the desk clerk, that's Michaela Cohn, I think is her name, and she has a Netflix hit of her own.
She does,
called Chewing Gum.
Yes, I've seen the first episode of it as of right now.
It has popped up in my suggestions.
I love it.
It is a lot of fun.
It's cringeworthy fun.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's something that you would you just wonder who wrote this? Who came up with these characters?
And she did it all herself. She had a one-woman show in London. Yeah. And that's how they came up with the concept. So she did.
And she's the steward, so she turns up at the airport, and because she's had a couple of negative interactions, she is just below the threshold for being able to rebook her flight that has been cancelled. And because she causes a scene because of that, she acts
like a human being.
Yeah. She starts to get to the point of wait, what? No, surely. But anyone from our reality that would be dropped into this would just go, no. Sorry, no.
I do not accept this as reality.
And so, because of the fact that the stewardess is just No, security.
Yeah. And things just get more awkward from there. So
she gets dropped an entire point, and then any downvotes are doubled. And so, because this is the show, she just keeps getting downvotes. The car that she would have rented is no longer available, so she has this incredibly
poor white
old
girl
model.
problems. She has to get into this.
I know, right?
And so she ends up getting, she hitchhikes with this truck driver who...
Oh, the fabulous Cherry Jones.
Yeah, she reveals
Cherry Jones is amazing.
She was exactly like her until her husband died because his rating was not quite high enough to get the treatment he needed. And so now she doesn't care, and she has a 1.4 rating. She really doesn't care, but she's happy. And that's... When she says that, you realize what's wrong with everything. Is that all of these people, they are just living, but they're not necessarily unless you are at 4.9, you're not happy. You're constantly on edge. You constantly have to act certain ways, and you're just trying to maintain. And this person is the first person you see. Even the brother is not necessarily happy.
Very simply, I mean, we all learn this at some point in our lives that you're much happier not trying to please everybody. You can't please everybody.
He found his happiness with the group who was lower rated and didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we gotta.
He found somewhere else to live.
He did.
True.
And yes. Again, without giving the very end away, it ends on a bit of a down note.
Sticking to type for the most part.
Yeah. You know what? That back and forth at the end was so good, and it was you could feel it. It was liberating. Yeah. So it was it was maybe kind of sad, but also cathartic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is what a lot of these episodes end up kind of being like. But yes.
Well. And I'm going to actually, since someone has an issue with this, I'm going to let our distinguished guest pick the next episode we talk about.
Okay.
Not necessarily the second in the season.
Yeah. So, obviously the other episodes here, we got Playtest, Shut Up and Dance, San Junipero, Men Against Fire, and Hated in the Nation.
We don't have to bring that one up again anymore.
Yes, we know.
Yes, you do.
So which one would you like to dive into?
You're gonna own it.
Which one would you like to dive into next?
You know what? We're going to bring it up. Since we've been talking for Downer Notes for a while,
yes,
we need to talk about the sunshine in the entire series.
So Shut Up and Dance.
Wrong. In the words of our future president, wrong.
Get me. But let's talk about San Junipero.
Yes, let's please.
Yes, because I think not only, I think maybe we want to talk about it. I think our listeners, or your listeners more accurately, probably, that's an episode that's very interesting to talk about because the tone is so different, but yet consistent with Black Mirror.
Well, it shows the hopeful side of this technology, as opposed to the downfalls.
Yeah, I think this episode is the only positive outcome.
Really? I feel like technically Hated in the Nation ends on a...
Sort of, kind of. But this is... This is
Brian.
the most...
I haven't seen that one. What's that one?
This is the most openly positive episode in the entire show.
By far, yeah. This gets so many good feels. Oh, sorry, Kealeen. I didn't.
No. Do you think there's still Debbie Downer's even worse than me? Trying to point out how the end is kind of actually tragic.
Yes.
With that wide shot or whatever.
I get it, but you're reaching. Dude, that's not. I don't think that's what they intended.
No. Yeah, this technology brought two people late in their lives together.
And okay, so. Well, we're talking about the technology. The technology actually is only introduced halfway through the episode, which I thought was fantastic because you spend the first half of this episode not knowing what they're talking about.
Confused as well. I mean, you're putting it together that, something else is going on. Yeah, it's Black Mirror, but...
Yeah, because it starts off in 1987 in a town called San Junipero, and there's this person who's a little shy, been there for the first time, and meets up with this girl who's trying to get away from this guy. And so it starts off like, okay, we're in the past? What? Like, that's not what Black Mirror does.
Well, yeah, and she starts out actually playing video games in an arcade in this nightclub.
Yeah,
and if you could can't she's basically the female equivalent of Can't Buy Me Love.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, this episode just actually goes. It's a wonderful episode to watch because, like, it completely normalizes a relationship between two women. Like it is.
Well, just, and a multiracial, like a a mixed race relationship between two women.
Yeah, there is nothing in this episode that even the side characters make no mention whatsoever of any kind that this is anything other than 100%.
It's not a trope. It's not broad. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and they actually even mention that during the episode. Oh, this isn't like it used to be.
Yeah.
Before you know that what the actual reality is, when it's still like in this 1987 setting, she goes, people don't think like they used to.
Yeah.
And also, it also shows the spectrum of sexuality, which I thought was brilliant because it showed that somebody could be married and love somebody with their entire heart, like of a different gender, but still find that same kind of deep love with somebody of the same gender. Like, it doesn't make the love any less significant.
Exactly. Yeah, it did it so well and just treated it maturely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It treated it. Sorry, it treated it maturely because it didn't make it a big deal. It was just like love is love.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so obviously we could now go off on a giant tangent about that, but so in keeping with the episode, it's normal, so we don't need to. So carrying on, these two people, these two women find each other. And the first time they meet, the main character's a little uncomfortable, like, sorry, I'm engaged, and they leave. And then, like, as far as we know, it just says next week. And so she's back. And
we're given some clues, sorry to interrupt, that time is really important.
Yeah, all we know is that there's only a set amount of time.
And we don't really know what that means.
There's some kind of curfew in place.
Exactly.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I genuinely was thinking maybe either alien influence or time travel.
Oh, see, I was thinking they weren't allowed to get wet or eat
after midnight. Yeah, I was thinking that, like, obviously there was a time limit, so I was like, either they're traveling back in time and they're kind of taking over these people for, say, 6 hours or something. So,
because she calls her a tourist or labels her a tourist.
Yeah.
Well, she goes, what are you? So we'll call you a tourist. Also, we should mention the two main characters are Kelly and Yorkie. Kelly played by the amazing Guga Mbatha-Raw. And then Yorkie is played by Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah, people probably most notably would know from The Martian.
Yes.
The comms. Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
And Gugu has been in. She was in. Let's see here. Beyond the Lights. She was in Doctor Who. She was in Jupiter Ascending. She's been in a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this episode just keeps hitting you when they end up having sex, and you find out that even though Yorkie is engaged, it's the first time she's ever had sex with anyone. And then the clock hits midnight, and it's the next week again. But Kelly is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so after this first time really connecting with someone, and now this person doesn't apparently want to be found, like, what does this mean? And when they are found eventually.
Well, and then but she goes to, like, this purgatory sex club to try to find out from the guy who had been rejected by Kelly.
And then you also find out that oh, well, no, it's a different time. So now they're in the 1990s. Now they're in the
We get
2000s.
some Alanis.
And yes, the 1990s were like, oh my! I was like, I want
I
to
know
live
you
there
love the
forever.
90s,
Yes, yes. I love the 90s.
Yeah.
And then she finds her eventually in like 2000. What was it, like
2002 or 4?
2002, playing Dance Dance Revolution.
And her stiletto heels and Paris Hilton halter top.
And this is the first time you really see reality break, because they have a discussion, but it doesn't go well. Kelly punches a mirror, and then it was broken, and it's instantly fine. So
Yeah.
Okay, what? And after that, they do find each other, and they confess. You get a confession that Kelly is dying, and she's there to have fun. And the problem was that it was getting a little too real, a little too relationship-wise.
This is out of nowhere, but I would definitely recommend multiple viewings of this episode because it's so wonderfully laid out, and
so many layers,
and it's just incredibly well written. In that, just even like when she's trying to ditch Wes at the beginning, the excuse she places on Yorkie is that she only has 5 months to live.
Yes.
And I mean there's a whole lot of instances like that where you get to pick up on what's going on.
Well, and also when she goes, well, what about the locals? And he's like, they're like they're dead people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's only 80%.
85.
And it's like you could actually, you could like classify locals like that, not like in an unfair, unflattering way at a lot of towns.
Yeah,
So,
not doing anything with
like it feels like Ybor City in like Florida or something. Like it's just like a party town where nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, did you know this was shot in South Africa?
That doesn't surprise me.
I think I'd heard that, but I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, I was like, what?
And so these two people, like after having another genuine conversation about everything that's going on, they sleep together again, and Kelly says, I want to meet you, and Yorkie doesn't want to say, but then she said, okay, this is where I am, and then we get to see what's going on.
Yeah, then the veil's lifted.
And what is going on is that when people die, there is the option of being uploaded to
the cloud, essentially.
But no, it's actually not. Okay, the thing is, like, when people are terminal or near death, they do this virtual reality therapy.
Yes,
which means, and they're only allowed, so like they can only do it like once a week.
For like 5.
It's 5 hours a week, which is why there's the time limit. And they obviously there is that therapy, but it is designed so that when you die, you can choose to live there like that. You will live forever.
You can buy the full version.
Yes.
Yeah, essentially.
Yes, you can enter your
code. Which is like, I mean, you can give like, and there is a lot of this episode was so brilliantly like written and directed in that it brings in potentially so many questions about like what you believe in terms of an afterlife, but it doesn't distract from the love story.
No, it just builds on
it. It factors into the conflict, but it doesn't distract from the actual love story.
Yeah, and speaking of, like, Kelly goes to, like, older Kelly goes to this facility where we find out that
ugly crying
that Yorkie has been.
By the way, I warned Brian.
You did.
That he would ugly cry. Even if you're a man, you will ugly cry at this episode. And he was like, yep.
Yeah. I took multiple doses.
I didn't, but there we go.
Well, but Paul's a cold-hearted son of a bitch.
Paul's a pod person. We've covered this on many occasions.
No, he's British.
Yeah, exactly. That's
we keep our inner turmoil inner. So yes, Yorkie is in fact completely paralyzed elderly woman in a nursing home who became incapacitated when she came out as gay to her parents, who rejected her. she fled away in her car and then got into an accident which left her completely paralyzed.
Yeah, not sad at all.
So yes, that's what's going on there.
Oh, and we find out that her fiance is actually her nurse because she can actually the same device they use, which are these little they look like kind of like Altoids with lights attached.
Yeah, that's a good description.
They attach to their temples. Allow them to communicate, like paralyzed people to communicate with other people. And it turns out like her male nurse has agreed to marry her in order to let her pass over because her family, shockingly, does not believe in letting her pass over to the world of San Junipero.
Yes.
Letting her, and passing over means your consciousness will be uploaded to this virtual reality world forever.
Yeah,
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah, so you are there instead of whatever afterlife you would normally imagine.
But you know what? But that's the thing. How do you know that's like actually gonna like they can't upload your soul, but these people think uploading your consciousness, your human consciousness, equates uploading your soul. So that's why they're so against it.
Yeah, and so upon finding out all of this information, Kelly jumps into San Junipero with her to propose. And so the idea being, okay, I feel like you would rather marry me and let me make this decision rather than your nurse. So, of course, Yorkie agrees. And then, continue. What happens, and she passes over into...
It's kind of like being euthanized too. So there's a lot of heavy issues. It's such a happy episode. There's like a lot of heavy shit.
Yeah, there's some downer shit in there. It's still Black Mirror.
Again,
it's like
everyone.
A political landmine.
Yeah, we did start this episode by saying this is the lightest episode of Black Mirror.
But it's actually like one of the most, in terms of like social issues and like being a political landmine, I think it's the most volatile that way. Yeah. But that's the brilliance of this episode, is that they pull it off. Like the story itself like transcends that.
Yeah, it really is one of the best love stories I've seen put to screen, and I'm not saying that lightly.
No, and I think we can kind of stop here because there's more that happens after this that I don't think we can get across as well as they do.
No, and Brian's like, it is. I watch You've Got Mail every day.
And
every other
when he's not watching What Women Want, he's watching
Hey, that's a fine movie, sir.
Yeah, I know. We even surprisingly gave it a not bad review.
I believe so. But yeah, and also, conversely, I've not been able to get Belinda Carlisle out of my head for like a month or whatever it's been. But yeah, reinvigorated my love of that song. That's my jam right now. Heaven is a Place on Earth. Yeah.
I'm actually I kind of respect that they actually did not use The Cure in this movie. Movie. See, I call it a movie because that's what it felt like.
It felt like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
I cannot believe they did not use Just Like Heaven, and I respect them for that.
Yeah, they went against that, obviously. But yeah, the music in this is just fantastic. That's just another level.
Did you hear that they actually have released a playlist for San Junipero?
Oh, really?
Like a multi-part playlist. Ooh, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
So there are layers upon layers upon layers even outside of this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is, it's a fantastic episode.
So
obviously my favorite.
This is the episode I use to trick people into watching Black Mirror.
Oh yeah, get them in with this one. Then they're like, none of these are like this. Why did you give me hope?
You're so mean. I'm like, yeah, so is Black Mirror. What?
You make people watch this and then follow it up with Men Against Fire.
We got to do condensed versions now, I think.
Let's try and speed some of these up.
Yeah, so, we don't go bit by bit here, but I just watched this. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so Men Against Fire, Brian just watched this. I watched it a little while ago. This is one that is a solid story, but I don't know. I didn't necessarily connect with it as much as I did the other episodes in this series, and this one was kind of the most meh to me for the season. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Well, maybe just because it's fresh, but I mean, the reveal, the moment, hit me pretty hard.
Even though I knew it was kind of knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought the acting, his acting in this was good.
Yeah,
and I love Michael Kelly too.
Oh my god, he's like, seriously.
Yeah, well, the second he popped up on screen, it's like, hey, it's you. Obviously, I'm still waiting for the next House of Cards.
Yeah, you expected like Kevin Spacey to appear on screen and like introduce him to the audience.
Or like he has to talk to his boss, and it's just a second of Kevin Spacey, but not Kevin Spacey from House of Cards. It's Kevin Spacey from the Call of Duty or the game.
Oh god, I forgot about that. Well played.
Have you seen the Kevin Spacey? Is it a GIF? He's holding the Kevin Spacey stick on a hit. And then he pulls away and it's Kevin Spacey.
I don't see that. No, I need to look that one up.
I know, like the soldier. Never mind, I can't spoil it.
We can spoil it.
I know. Okay, he goes home at the end, and like instead of his girlfriend coming out, it's Kevin Spacey.
It's
quite perplexing.
Yeah, he looked.
That's my best Frank Underwood. Sorry, that's all I got.
He looked through the window, and it's just.
Perplexing.
He looked through the window, and it's just Frank Underwood on the rowing machine, just. And then he looks in the garage, and it's Kevin Spacey from American Beauty doing the lifts.
Oh god, it's just Kevin Spacey's everywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that would be.
It'd be like being Kevin Spacey.
Oh my god.
Just Kevin Spacey being Kevin Spacey.
And we see a tiny door that he goes into. To see all these Kevin Spaceys. Yeah.
But yes. Anyway, the actual plot of this. But yes, the actual plot of this story is there are these roaches, which are these weird mutated beings,
kind of like World War Z's.
No, they were kind of like the things from I Am Legend.
Yeah, that's closer. You're right.
Yeah, there's a war that we don't know about that happened, and now these roaches are here, and all of these soldiers are trying to kill off the roaches, make it safe for the people around, and on fighting some of these roaches, this one guy has this weird light flashed in his face, and from then on, this technology that they use, again, in AI technology, it lets them see building layouts and kind of do tactical planning and stuff, and lets them communicate with each other, starts to malfunction, and he starts being able to smell and see and hear things that everyone else can't. For instance, you actually, when they're using it, they cannot hear. And they never really think about it. But then once it starts malfunctioning, it's like, oh, I can hear the birds. I can smell the grass. And they start to realize, oh, well, no, we can't actually do that normally. And then, while trying to clear out a building, you come to realize what actually is going on. Even though he's brought it up to his superiors and they're like, no, your stuff's working fine. And they send him back out. It's like, no, the people, the roaches that you're fighting are just people.
Yeah.
It's basically an allegory for ethnic cleansing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which really bummed me up given our current situation.
And not even necessarily an allegory. It's more what Michael Kelly says at the end of the episode. It's like, no, these people need to be killed. They need to be gone.
Yeah, we got it, Bannon. Okay, yeah.
Well, but it also shows the vulnerability of the people they recruit, which is another thing they need to address about, our current situation is that they take advantage because a lot of times there are people who are economically disadvantaged, not properly educated. Public education is basically going to be erased with this new okay, I can't get into politics right now, but but a lot of these people go into military because they feel like that's the best chance they have at making a viable future for themselves, and they are willing to do whatever because they're like, okay, it's better than being in a gang on the street. But a lot of times they get into a similar situation through the military.
Yeah, and yeah, the footage you see towards the end of the episode of him as a recruit just being like, "Yep, no, do it." Like,
exactly.
Erase my memory. Just give me I need to get in.
Jason Bourne me. I'm good. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's
not even. It's you know what? It's not even that like type of Jason Bourne. At least they like. The thing is, they just want this person to be a machine. Like they at least wanted this like Jason Bourne to be like a machine of intelligence. They just want this person to be like, they can. They want this. It's like Westworld, only on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was just using that loosely, but yeah, that's seems accurate. But yeah, the whole mention of like a registry, like that, just kind of.
Oh god!
I'm like that word.
And they kept reminding each other they're not human. They're not human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael Kelly's just bought into the whole propaganda.
And in the show, it's not just whatever country they're in, which again is not necessarily stated. It's a global thing. Like the entire world has agreed to this, and now there's this mass just eradication of certain people.
I think on that.
Well, it's like the globe is like agreed to anti-globalism.
Yep. And yeah, I think as I was trying to say, like
on that note, let's move on from that one.
Yeah, and
I think that's why I like resonated with this episode. I know it wasn't perfect, and there was actually a lot of bad acting in this, aside from Michael Kelly and Malachi Kirby. Madeline Brewer, like. She was okay, but like
that
most
character was just it wasn't good.
Yeah, most of the acting in this actually was not very good. Like the two most important parts were amazing, but besides that, the acting in this was not very good.
Yeah. Sarah Snook didn't really cut it for me either in this.
Yeah, and that might be another reason why I found this just kind of meh. It's because it kind of lackluster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
if you want to see a good Sarah Snook performance, watch Predestination. That's all I got on that.
I think. How about we shift to playtest now for this?
Ooh, playtest. Okay.
Yeah, because I will start this by saying I think it has too many endings. I think it has one too many endings. Because but I'll get into that in a second.
That suffers from the Return of the King syndrome?
Kind of, yes. Okay. So yes, basically this is about this guy called Cooper who he lives at home, but he decides one day he just leaves and goes around the world. So like off
white male privilege.
Yes,
yay!
So off he goes around Europe and America, and it turns out that his dad developed early on Alzheimer's, and so one of the reasons why he's doing this is because what if this happened to him? He wants to get as many memories under his belt.
Make Brian an asshole. Right.
So yes, and he meets someone who through this app. It turns out he says, "Oh, I can do this job, get a little bit of money," and this person says, "Oh, you want to do that? That's like a lead gaming company that no one knows what they're doing. Go do it. By the way, I'm a journalist. Go do it."
After the Tinder hookup, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so he agrees. He's like, "Sure, why not? I'll do it." So he goes to this place, and he's shown this new technology, which is basically what you kind of want video games to be in the future, because it's an AR thing where like it's really there. Like you're seeing all of this stuff. Like he plays a little whack-a-mole type game, and then they say, "You know what? Okay, we're gonna have you kind of playtest the full version of this game," which they start off by putting this stuff in his head, and then they say this is going to feed off your fears to kind of make this game horrifying specifically for you, and then we're going to take that and play with it, and so on and so forth. So he says, okay. And then the majority of this episode is him in this mansion, where he's waiting for this game to start playing with him. And I thought it was really good when it was there, because you actually got a fair amount of character development from him, and you got to see some
like dick.
Yeah, you got to see some fantastic graphics and stuff. And
that was a bit much.
The giant spiders thing, the person who kind of turns into a bit of a weird spider thing as well. So many great little things in it, and I thought also plays on the genre, because there's a part where he's looking at this picture and it's like, oh, there's a light on in the house, and the light, something's gonna come get me, isn't it? It's gonna be right behind me. And it's like, this is actually playing on horror tropes.
Well, definitely. Yeah, go ahead, Kealeen.
Oh no, the pacing of this was perfect, and also like in contrast to Men Against Fire, the acting in this, and it was primarily on Wyatt Russell, was like phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
And you know who he is, right?
Wyatt Russell.
Oh, sweet! I get to reveal this. Sweet. I didn't realize it either until I looked it up afterwards. He is the son of Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Oh. All right.
Yep. Definitely.
Like rewatch it and you'll be like, oh god, oh god, I see. But he's got you can tell he's doing the groundwork. He's not half-assing it. He's genuinely talented. Yeah, because he acted mostly by himself.
Yeah, and it was really cool because the game is entirely like nothing can hurt you. You can't touch anything, and then you find out. No, there's something he can touch in this game, and it can touch him. And you start to see, well, like this technology that sounds so great, like what happens if it malfunctions? Like, do you want to be the first play tester when this actually comes out in like 10 years?
I mean, me being having a pretty big gamer history, I was immediately, I think this was intentional, reminded of playing Silent Hill like late in the evening, or the Resident Evil games, but being that character and in that world, and I wouldn't want no part of that. So fuck being a guinea pig on that shit.
Especially like the first year it's out, it's like give it a couple of years, let them work out all the bugs.
Oh, here's giant machete head guy, no thanks. I'm out.
But
one thing we never found out was I guess it was like his account was legitimately hacked.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it never is fully explained, but I get the feeling like, given what he was doing, going around the world, maybe he accidentally left his bank card on the counter too long. Someone just cloned it.
He probably used it. No, maybe he just used his card in enough countries where there's not stable security.
Probably.
All right, I think that's.
God, I'm trying to rationalize a Black Mirror episode. This is who I am. I try to rationalize Black Mirror episodes.
So this episode, it starts to end where he's trying to get out. And it turns out that everything is going on inside his head and making him forget his own memories. So, obviously, his biggest fear is that he will end up like his father. And so, when you start to get to the point where you think, oh, that's where it ends, nope. It then cuts back to him in the office, where he's been told, you've only been here for a minute.
Yeah, it was a little Inception-y.
Everything happened almost instantly for you. And he's like, okay, no, I'm done. Get me out of here. And so he goes home to his mum, who is constantly trying to call him. And it turns out that that's not real either, and he's dead.
Spoiler alert. And I agree with you that there was one too many
Yeah, I
Cut
personally
twist.
think what they should have done is that bit at the end where he's trying to get through to his mum, and his mum is just trying to call him over and over and over. It should have been hard cut there. Like the cut that they do, cutting away to the final reveal. It should have just been cut to credits and then left it.
It was that extra scene in Lincoln that you don't need.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it just the death. Like, yeah, this should have been an episode with an ambiguous ending.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. This is the one thing where I think they overwrote it. Like, like too many rewrites, and it takes away from the performances, like especially Wyatt Russell's. Yeah, I don't know. Like I really enjoyed the episode up until that point, and it almost got knocked down just a notch for me just because of that. So.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say an important PSA that's not really kind of related to that. If your mom calls, pick up the phone.
Right.
She birthed you. You can talk to her for a few minutes,
and she won't call you during a very important piece of equipment testing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also like it made it instantly forget. Like the extra twist made it almost ironically almost instantly forgettable, or like fittingly enough, it was one too many. Like you relegate it with the rest of the Shyamalan like shit movies.
Yeah,
because it's too many twists.
Yes, what a twist.
Okay. Should we get on to Shut Up and Dance?
Shut Up and Dance. Sure, why not?
This is probably my least favorite.
Least favorite.
I actually really like this one.
I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle. I liked most aspects of it, but as a whole, I kind of left me wanting. And
I really enjoyed like the arc of the episode. Like I was thinking throughout the episode that what happened right at the end. I was always thinking in the back of my head, it's like I thought that what actually ended up happening was going to happen anyway, just because of the people doing it. Like I was like, what incentive do they have not to do that? So
yeah.
Well, but see, okay, maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just a paranoid asshole, or maybe it's because I used to teach or whatever. But I called it like within the first 2 minutes of the episode when he was interacting with that little kid. Like,
yeah,
I called it immediately. I was just like, yep.
Yeah.
So, yes,
but Braun wasn't enough to do it for you in this time?
You don't underuse Braun like that.
True, yeah.
All right.
I mean, Braun, do you think Braun would have been happy with that?
Oh, no.
It's like, well, how much am I getting paid?
Exactly. Give me a bigger castle and a prettier girl.
You know what? Who would have been great at blackmailing those people? Braun.
Yep.
Game of Thrones references, people.
Yep.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
You have no doubt. Okay.
Yes,
but I mean, this ending really, I mean, I'm saying bummed out, but this was probably one of the most negative I felt.
Oh, God. And also it teaches you to get like a camera cover for your laptop.
Yep. Cover that
and not
up.
even if you're doing anything like bad.
Yeah.
It just like makes you aware of how easy it is, like just to like I mean facial recognition software, just if people can see you and they can use that and know everything about you.
Yeah. So yes, this episode is about blackmail, basically.
Well, about like probably pretty legitimate blackmail.
Oh yes, I mean the things they are being blackmailed about are things you could blackmail someone about. So but basically, this kid ends up doing something he shouldn't be doing and being recorded while doing it. And
but it looks very innocuous. He works at a restaurant, and he's like a busboy at a restaurant. Looks very innocuous, like just typical teen. Like he's like whatever teens do, like whatever men, a lot of men do with their laptop.
Yes, he ends up getting an email Well, he gets a text, and then he gets an email with a file which shows him masturbating in front of his computer.
Lesson being, don't open emails that you don't know.
Yes.
The story ends without you opening that email.
Yeah.
So it's basically he is blackmailed saying, oh, well, if you don't want this email to everybody in your contact information, then, like, you will do what we say. So he is told to go. What is it? The first thing he ends up doing, like he gets a text that he has to go somewhere. Yeah, he has to go somewhere, so he goes to that place. Otherwise, the video will be released. And then he meets someone there who hands him a box, and he gets a text again saying, "Okay, now you have to go here, or we'll release the video." And it's obvious that the person that gives him the box, he's also being blackmailed, and you don't know what it is.
Like the interconnecting stories.
Yeah. And so he goes to this hotel room, and eventually gets in, and there's this other guy there, and then this other guy ends up getting blackmailed as well. So now they both need to go, and it just keeps escalating. They end up having to rob a bank.
Yes.
And
it's the darker side of Homer being Mr. Burns' prank monkey.
Yes. Yes, very much so.
Well, and you're never told what any of these people actually did. Like,
yeah. I mean, you sympathize initially with the situation.
Yeah.
Well, like, you know what the guy that he meets in the hotel does, because that's the reason he's in the hotel. So he's meeting a prostitute.
But
and he's married,
you never know what he did. Like the main, I should point that out. Okay, I'm sorry. You never know what the main character. Like you assume it's just because he was masturbating on camera and he would be humiliated.
Yes,
and that's enough to believe for a teenager that his life would be ruined by that.
Yeah. So, and even with that, like the guy he meets up with is trying to get him to say, like, in the car, like, what have they got on you? And he's suitably weirded out and uncomfortable, so he can't say. And he ends up, after they've robbed this place and they escape the police, they go to this field and split up. And he has to deliver this package or whatever to this random place. And he turns up there, and there's one other guy there with a drone. And pretty much all the other guy asks is, how young were they?
Yeah, what did you do? How young were they?
And at that point you realize, oh,
these
what was he looking at?
And then it's like, well, again, this is what I thought in the beginning. Like, I was thrown off for a while, but as soon as I saw him at the beginning, I was like, oh, this has to do with some pedophile shit. Just in how he looked at that little girl. And they tried to throw you off by his flirtation with his female coworker. But the way he looked at that little girl when, like, at the very beginning, I was like, oh no, there's some fuck shit going on here.
Yes.
There's stranger danger going on here.
Yeah, so they end up in a fight to the death.
Oh, they get an order to fight to the death.
Yeah, and then right at the end, you find out that the guy we've been following actually ends up winning that fight to death, if you can call it winning. And then the hacker just releases all the information anyway on everybody. So
which that sequence was actually that was brilliant. Like it was the way it was shot and everything. That was brilliant.
Everybody, getting their comeuppance.
Yeah, and it was something that was the thing that for me, upon the beginning of this, and it's like he's starting to get blackmailed. I just thought, like, why wouldn't this end badly?
Well, one, it's Black Mirror. Why wouldn't this end badly?
Yeah, but even so, the hacker had no reason not to release the stuff anyway. So
you think you can trust that person. Yeah.
And then when it started to happen, as you said, I loved how it was done. It was so, especially for him, where he just gets the phone call from his mum.
Well, and also, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, it was just how he, like, the phone call from his mum, and you just see the flashing lights, but that's it. Like,
Right. Like, so he's not only going down for being a pedo, he's also going to get arrested for, at the very least, manslaughter.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And with that, I think that's our discussion on Black Mirror.
Well, Paul and I can briefly skim on.
What?
Do I need to leave the room?
No. I think just to say, I think Hated in the Nation is possibly the second best episode of the season.
Yeah. I go back and forth between that and San Junipero.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic. This one is about a hacker, basically. And there's this great technology, and then how it can be used nefariously.
And there's, again, you want to talk about layers? Like, we could do it. I feel like we could do an entire episode about Hated in the Nation. It's actually, I think, longer than the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it is. It's an hour and a half, so it's a Sherlock length episode.
Yeah, it comes across at first like a procedural. And it's got Kelly MacDonald, who is, obviously always fantastic, and Faye Marseille, the waif, with their T-1000 run.
And the Great Wong.
And which, God, he's nearly unrecognizable from Sunshine.
Less unrecognizable from Doctor Strange, though, because he looks identical.
Yeah. But the effects, the plot, the layers, I mean, it has to do with social media. It has to do with like environmentalism. It has to do with technology and environmentalism. It has to do with like revenge. It has so many different layers to it. Okay, guys, just watch it.
I couldn't agree more. I agree with everything you said about it.
Whatever, Brian.
It gets Brian's stamp of approval right there.
Yes. I feel like I don't even need to see it now. I feel like I was there.
Okay, yeah, that's the final twist, that you're not even gonna watch it.
Exactly, I'll never watch it. Now it's a spite issue.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, that definitely covers Black Mirror.
Yes, I hope everyone feels uplifted and ready to go embrace the day.
And, you can go on your iPhone or Samsung Galaxy, exploding Samsung Galaxy or whatever, and just go listen to us through your technology some more.
Yes.
Yes. Soiled Restroom and Talk Amongst Yourselves are two amazing podcasts. I'm not saying that because she's my friend. I'm saying it because it's true.
Yeah.
Check them out. They're awesome.
Yes, please do. And I'm not saying that because I'm on Sword Rush, so more often than I should be.
We have no dogs in this fight.
Yes. Yes. No, we do.
Well,
and it's a pleasure as always. I was really excited because I just talked about you guys to somebody, and I recommend you guys all the time.
Aww.
You cover a huge, you run the gamut, and it's a lot of fun to listen to you guys. It's even more fun to be on here. Couldn't be happier that you guys asked me back, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. We will have you back again.
Yes. Yes, maybe for something a little more upbeat.
With a little more with a little more brevity.
Yeah, I think maybe when we do Schindler's List, I think.
There we go. Yeah.
Or we could do Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, there we go.
Oh God, seriously, you cannot pay me to watch that movie again.
Yeah, I think
sounds like a challenge, actually.
How much?
With that hashtag Requiem challenge.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna let you guys get out of here. So thank you for sticking with us through these 2 episodes of Black Mirror. And Kealeen, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Kel to the Lean, KELTOLEAN on Twitter. You can find me through my podcasts, Soiled Restroom Cinema and Talk Amongst Ourselves. We're both on Twitter. And Check it out.
Okay. Well, with that, I've been Paul.
I've been Brian.
And she's been Kealeen. And we'll see you guys some other time.